It's a go time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Two Crazy Guys, One Crazy Crypto World podcast brought to you by your two crazy guys, one a baby boomer and one a Gen X. Different generations, yet both crazy enough about crypto to want to bring you your daily crypto update and all the update on the crypto markets for, I guess, that day again. There you go, Stacey. Good morning, how are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, good. That makes perfect sense to me.
It made perfect sense to me at the time too, but I got the words around a little bit backwards. That's okay. But ladies and gentlemen, as
Doesn't
always,
matter.
it is your challenge to work out which one of us is the baby boomer and which one is the Gen X.
Send in your thoughts. Tell us.
Absolutely.
How are you surviving down in wintry Canberra, my friend?
Mate, it's just beautiful out here today. I'm looking out the
Yeah.
window and there's lovely grey overcast, right? And I think that if I drill through that, there'll be blue above it. But you can tell from Stacey's sitting there in his blue T-shirt. I'm sitting here with a white T-shirt, a grey long sleeve T-shirt, a brown jumper, and a blue vest. Which one of us is warmest?
I wonder. Well,
I
you can
think
always come to Queensland, my friend.
I know. But could you imagine if I came up there, how much trouble you'd be in?
I don't even want to think about that.
What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is Stacey's actually saying, "Come on, mate, do it."
So,
Mate, what is
how good was? For those who haven't seen it, we did a interview with Boomer Forks
you
on Friday.
just
We
took the
released it
words
on
right out of my
Saturday.
mouth.
Sorry.
You just took those words right out of my mouth.
We're on the wavelength, mate.
We are. This is it. Oh my God,
That's scary. That's very
Our
scary.
special episode 50 was an
Yes,
interview with Boomer Falk from Boomerang Capital,
indeed.
and it was a doozy. If you haven't listened to it, please do so. There's some really, really good information. What I was just about to tell Stacey before he came through with this lightning
Maybe.
fast was I spent a lot of Friday and a lot of the weekend reading the paperwork sent through by Boomer Capital, all the forecasting, all the market analysis and everything.
Yeah,
Because once you listen to episode 50, you will see that based on that interview, I took the plunge and I became a subscriber
you did.
for Boomerang Capital. That gave me access to all of their information, their margin trading analysis, their buys and sells, and all of this stuff. And sure enough, true to their word, that information started arriving in my inbox within probably 10 minutes
Yeah, right.
of me signing up.
Yep.
And the beauty of it was, you sign up with Bitcoin. You don't send them cash, you send them Bitcoin. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah,
And
it is.
if you haven't listened to it, please get on and listen to our special episode 50.
Yes,
Which
absolutely.
one, by the way, and have it. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, his story is fantastic. I love his story.
Oh,
How he got to where he did, and how he started off in trading. It's a great story, people. You've got to go and listen to it.
If there are any baby boomers out there who were fans of Rene Rivkin, trust me, you will have a new fan.
Yeah, I believe so too. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff, wasn't it? Awesome interview.
It was fantastic. So good
All
morning
right.
to Boomer and good morning to everyone at Boomerang Capital. Thank you very much for your time on Friday. It was well worth it for us, and we hope that you guys enjoyed the podcast, which of course we've sent you, and you'll be able to find through a link on their website as well.
Absolutely. Yeah,
All
no,
right, get
we've
to
got
the
all the
markets.
info there. All right, so I've shared my screen with you, mate. You should be seeing that as we speak.
I can. Excuse me for a second.
So we have, look, we've got a bit of red showing again across the top 10. So it's been a very choppy old 24 hours. Bitcoin's going up and going down and not really, hasn't really found any direction yet. So for the last 24 hours, Bitcoin is showing up 1.6%. It's still holding above 10, although we did drop below 10 over the last 24 hours.
We did indeed. In fact, when I came online half an hour ago or so, it was actually in the nines then. So.
Yeah. So it's just holding above 10 for the moment. It's like I said, still really hasn't found any direction for the last few days. So we shall see what happens there. Across the top 10, we've got Ethereum sitting at 184, down 2.4%. XRP sitting at 26 cents and down just 0.3. Bitcoin Cash sitting at 302 and down 1%. Litecoin has dropped down to $71 and is down 2.7% for the day. Binance Coin is dropped to $25, down 1.4%. Jumping over Tether to EOS in the 8th position is $3.49, down 4.2%. And Bitcoin SV at 131, down 1%. And Cardano at number 10 is at 4.8 cents and is down 2.5%.
And you can see there that Cardano is still holding on to the top 10, but Monero has gone from 11th down to 12th, being jumped by Stellar, which is quite interesting because Stellar is actually one that through the research from Boomer Capital, I discovered a lot more information about Stellar, stuff that you may have already known, Stace, but I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
In fact, IBM is so stellar.
Yes, So Stellar's had a partnership with IBM for quite some time now, and
IBM have invested more into it this year.
Yeah, so it's definitely one of the key reasons that I invested in Stellar in the first place in the early days. When as soon as they started talking about, other than the fact that Stellar's super fast, it's when it announced its partnership with IBM, I thought, well, that's got to be nothing but good, you know, in terms of future viability. So look, and that's some of the value that the likes of Boomerang Capital will deliver. They do a lot of the research and they get information, and as a subscriber, you get access to that info. So
you do.
And this isn't a paid advert, by the way.
No, it's not. I was just about to say, just in case anyone's wondering, we were really excited by Boomerang Capital with Boomer, and we have no affiliation with them whatsoever, i.e. they are not paying us for advertising or anything.
No, in fact, we're paying them.
In fact, both Stacey and I have paid them to become subscribers of their service, but we're both super big fans of it. Me instantly, Stacey instantly some time ago when he told me about it and said, you should get into this, dude. And I went, honestly, have a look at them, because you heard it here. And if you listen to episode 50, the price for the subscription goes up significantly on September 1st. So get in now. I don't know, what's the date today? The 26th?
26. So you've only got a few days left, people.
5 more days, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll get in at the current price. I'd do it. Absolutely.
In
fact, I did it on Friday. So go figure.
That's right. All right, so I just thought I'd have a quick look at Bitcoin, because it certainly looks like, because Bitcoin's up slightly for the day, but nearly every other top 10 coin is actually down. So there's been another move, money away from the altcoins into Bitcoin, and as you can see from the chart here, we're definitely sort of consolidating around that 10,000 mark. So at the moment, that 10,000 line is sort of holding support quite well. It's you sort of get the feeling like it's building up to something, and either it's going to drop down real quick or it's going to go up real quick. Not sure which way.
Bets.
Yeah.
Not sitting on the fence from Stacey.
You got a 50-50 chance, right? So, but hey, look, this is the thing. You can't predict it, and anyone that says they can is kidding themselves.
But a lot of analysts have said that it will drop. Some believe is below as far as 8 this year, before skyrocketing before the end of the year. Yep,
it's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible.
So you can hedge your bets, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get into Bitcoin, you can get into it around now. If it drops down to 8 and then still skyrockets, you're still going to make money. If you want to hold off until you see if it gets to 8, good luck. And
that's the thing. It may or may not. It may just shoot up from here. You may never see 8.
Yeah.
Right? That's the joy of this game. So, let's move on to some crazy news. The old Winklevoss twins, or we call them Winklevi, for plural. These guys, in case you haven't come across these guys before, if you haven't seen the movie Social Network, these are the guys that tried to create Facebook in the early days with Mark Zuckerberg, and if the movie was to be believed, Zuckerberg did the dirty on them and cut them out. They then went on and sued him and made a fair bit of money got a decent payout from Zuckerberg, which they subsequently put into Bitcoin. So these guys are now definitely Bitcoin advocates, and they have their own exchange and called Gemini. And one of the things that these guys are trying to do is they're trying to push for better regulation and support in the finance sector in particular. And look, trying to do it the right way, as they would say. And they believe there's certainly a lot of regulatory issues, and they'd like to see better clarity in the regulations. And this article here, they talk about the fact that it's definitely a possibility for them to work with Zuckerberg again, which I find very interesting. And the fact that, Tyler's actually said, yeah, it's definitely a possibility that they could work with Facebook in their Libra coin projects. He said he'll see how it unfolds. There's a lot of regulatory concerns in the United States and other jurisdictions, and I think there's a long road ahead. And I absolutely agree with him there. There's they've got a lot of hurdles to get over in order to achieve what they want to achieve. But I think it's very good for the industry, as I've said a few times now. And but one of the other things he says down here, he says, I don't think in the future that Facebook will be the only private company that has ambitions for its own currency, he said. I think that we are heading to a future where government currencies, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and private company currencies will live side by side, and customers and consumers can ultimately make their choices. And I think that's absolutely a possibility.
I'm already looking at it.
Yep.
So,
yep. No, absolutely. I think it's definitely a possibility, no doubt about it. And in line with that, government coins, this one's one you brought up, mate.
Yeah, the Bank of England governor proposes global cryptocurrency to overcome the dominance of the US dollar in the world markets, i.e., just to simplify what this story is about, have a read of it, ladies and gents. We'll put the link in the show notes. Is that right now, because of the trade war between China and the US, any country that deals in US dollars, and there are countries that don't deal in it very much, but they're still affected by this trade war.
Yep.
And yet the Bank of England governor is saying if we had a global cryptocurrency that was not tied to the US dollar, China and US could go at it all they wanted to, all they wanted. It's not going to affect the global economy like it currently is. That, I think, is actually a really good analysis of why we should have something like that. Now, I'm not saying that it should be controlled by the Bank of England or some other central bank, but it is a really good analogy of why cryptocurrencies should be in existence, because then you can have two global superpowers saying, hey, mine's bigger than yours. And the rest of us don't have to say, yeah, but mine's bigger, but I just can't put it out there like you. So it just makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, look, and absolutely, I think that's while that wasn't necessarily the initial vision of Bitcoin, Bitcoin was certainly developed to get around the current financial system and certainly the power of the US dollar, and enable pure peer-to-peer transactions. As it's turned out, it's sort of turning at the moment. It's turning more into a store of value and a way to exchange larger sums.
Yeah, I think that little headline that's in the middle of the screen there now says it all. The international and monetary system requires improvement.
That's the biggest understatement of the day.
Yeah, it's just incredible. But we don't need to remove the dominance of the US dollar on everything.
Well, and that's how they wield their power across the world, right? Through that dollar. Interestingly, Pompliano, who's I think he's the head of he's co-founder and partner at Morgan Creek Digital, and very well known around the industry. He tweeted and said it only took 10 years for central bankers to go from unaware of digital currencies to calling for one as a global reserve currency. And as you said, it's moving much faster than most people expected.
There you go, for calling for one as the global reserve currency. That ties in with the previous story.
Well, I think this is actually in response to that article.
So, I'd say it probably is too.
So interesting. And one of the key things I liked that he said there is it's moving much faster than almost anyone expected. And I've said a few times on our podcast that adoption rate is going to be so much faster than other technologies of times past, purely because we are so much more connected these days. And the technology itself is runs off the back of internet and other networks. So it's we can talk about something here, and a few seconds later, someone on the other side of the planet can know about it. So we are at a time in history that enables the fastest rate of adoption that we've ever experienced. So it's definitely going to happen.
Yep.
All right. There's another one you found, mate?
Yeah, Bitmain are increasing their mining capacity that by 50%. They've just ordered another 600,000 of the high-end supercomputer mining chips.
That's crazy.
It is, because, excuse me, the hash rate, which will be 50 terahashes per second. All right, so it's pretty...
That's a lot of hashes.
It's a lot of hashes. Unlike the ones we used to have back in the 70s, 80s, where you smoked it through a coke. Not that I do any of that, right? No. The reason I brought this one up, or the reason I put it, not for the details within the story, but it showed that a player like Bitmain, who have experienced pretty serious losses in the last 12 months through a couple of bad investments, whatever it happens to be, they have such faith in the ongoing viability of the mining industry that they're increasing their capacity by 50%. Now, there's a picture floating around. You can see a picture of one of their areas. It's literally just warehouses, ladies and gents. It's like here in Australia, we have Storage King, where people go down, they hire out a garage and they store all their stuff in there. And it just looks like a huge warehouse, except on the front, there's all roller doors. Well, guys have that same sort of setup without the roller doors, but it's just computers
wall to wall.
mining.
Yeah, wall to wall computers.
Billions of dollars worth of computers.
Yeah. I think the other reason, look, Bitmain's hell bent on getting profitable quickly is they've also got plans to release an IPO. So obviously, from their perspective, and there's an article here, they've reported losses of $625 million for January and February. If they want a successful IPO, they've got to turn that around and start generating some profits.
This is one of the ways to do it. They're investing that, which gives them the net value of around 12 billion. So they're not exactly a small company.
No, they are not. They're not. All right. That's an interesting one.
It is indeed. The US Treasury, and the reason I brought this one to Stacey, up for Stacey as well, is that the US Treasury Department is stepping up its focus on illegal cryptocurrency-related activities, i.e., the Chinese. They're specifically pointing out some Chinese kingpins in this one who they believe have been using cryptocurrency as a way to overcome the money laundering laws and to move massive amounts of money so that they could get to buy the drugs. And I absolutely think the Treasury Department's on the right step there. It's another step in how they will increase the regulation around the industry, and that's coming. Regulation, as Boomer said on Friday, regulation is coming, whether people like it or not. But it's actually a good thing that regulation is coming, because it won't change the way cryptocurrency works.
No.
It just change the way that people think about it.
It will.
And the more regulation we get around it, the more, I guess, not viability, what's the word? The more where it becomes real.
Well, I think it'll be seen from an institutional perspective. It'll have a level of security around it that it doesn't have at the moment, really.
It increases the legitimacy.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a big word for the morning, mate. Well done.
I know. You'll start seeing more, once we get this regulation stuff in, you'll start seeing more Bitcoin ATMs where you can actually get cash out for your thing. There's one here in Canberra already. There's one in Cairns Airport. I saw that up there recently.
Yeah.
They are actually out there, but you'll start seeing more of them come up.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing about this article that that people also need to be aware of is that Bitcoin was originally touted as being anonymous. Well, Bitcoin's actually not anonymous, right? And this article points to the fact that it's not, because they can actually track the money through the addresses, right? Yeah. The trouble is actually aligning addresses to an individual or to an entity, right? Yeah. That's the problem. But remember, Bitcoin is a public blockchain. So every transaction that happens can be viewed by anybody.
Yep.
Right? So it's pseudo anonymous sort of, I don't know, sort of word. It really depends on.
Mr. Stacey Bosel had XYZ, right? But they can follow that address and the money moving from one address to another, and then they eventually will be able to start putting those things together.
Yeah, and even down to the fact of IP addresses of computers that initiated those transactions, right? So there's a lot of forensic analysis that can be done that can pin down a location and a point in time when a transaction happened, even if they don't have an actual identity attached to an address. They can work out a fair amount from it now. So so that's definitely an interesting take. So. All right.
What else we got, buddy? Because I've got about 5 more minutes, unfortunately.
Cool, no worries. Look, this is the other one which I thought was interesting. Kraken, who's one of the leading exchanges in around the world, their OTC, which is over-the-counter trading head. He believes that Bitcoin's not a safe haven yet, right? So he's obviously someone who's from Wall Street, started in the CDS market. He said, which feels a lot like crypto now, and you got a lot more financial innovation, a lot of trading, and everything that's happening.
What's the CDS market?
That's the it's sort of like a derivatives market. So that's sort of the CDS of the those products that the banks made to. It was in The Big Short, the movie The Big Short. I can't remember the name of what CDS actually stands for. Yeah, it's another one of those pretend money-making schemes the banks come up with through derivatives, where they sell debt. Anyway, but he said it's very much early days. He's not prepared to call Bitcoin a safe haven yet. So he said that but I do think that it's starting to act like one. And I think that people are starting to portfolio manage and starting to come in slowly. And when the market is getting shaky, you saw Bitcoin rise. He said you wouldn't see that before. It was trading like a risky asset. So he's not saying it is right now, but he said it's definitely heading that way. And it is.
Anyone who's super worried about it, and they don't want to, because they think the crypto isn't really a safe haven now, maybe they should try and find some really big company that they could buy the shares instead. I heard of one called Lehman Brothers. Apparently, were a really good buy.
Lehman Brothers.
Yeah, Lehman Brothers. Really good buys, but they were safe haven. So,
or Bear Stearns.
Yeah. Just saying.
Dear. All right. What else we got? I thought this was interesting. Blockchain become an integral part of autonomous vehicles. So in the future, we can see autonomous vehicles basically talking to one another, and they see a time where cars actually have their own crypto wallets and can talk to not only itself but other connected devices. So they might be able to pay tolls, or they pay for parking, or communicate with other cars for other reasons.
It's happening now. Wasn't it Mercedes that were releasing the first one with its own inbuilt crypto wallet?
Oh, was it Mercedes or?
We
did. Yeah, you're right. I can't remember who that was now.
But I'm pretty sure it was Mercedes.
Yeah. So this is part of the, and this is definitely one of the use cases for cryptocurrencies. And
you can't get the wallet.
Yeah. Where it's going to go in the future is very, very interesting. And there we've got also another new product where they actually got SIM cards that will enable crypto transactions as well. So yeah, absolutely. So
don't lose your phone, ladies and gentlemen. Don't lose your phone.
Well, I'm sure they'll have ways to combat that. But like I saw this tweet as well, and I thought this was great. So Bitcoin has now been pronounced dead 373 times, according to Rhythm on Twitter. And he said it was, so for example, Wired pronounced it dead at 13:30, Forbes did it 15:15, Bloomberg at 93.57, Washington Post at $182, The Guardian said it was dead at $318. Routers at 327. Business Insider at 433. New York Times at 955.
I like the last bit. Proving them wrong has never been so profitable. That's good. Mate, that's about all we've got time for today, I'm afraid.
That's all right, mate. We've got
lots more stories to keep us going for the rest of the week, ladies and gentlemen. We promise we'll bring them to you.
Yeah, look, there's certainly many more. There's no shortage. That's a great thing about this industry. There is no shortage of news.
It just keeps on coming every day. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us today. So thank you for joining us on this journey through the crazy crypto world. And if you'd like to get access to the bonus material, don't forget to join us over there on Patreon. However, we will be rejigging that a little bit as we move along as well. But please become a subscriber and get that silver and gold bling. We know you like it. Right? But until tomorrow, we hope you have a great day. Remember, crypto is key, and keep on coming back to see Stacey and me.
That's it. Have a crazy old day, folks. See ya.